Hello everyone, a very good evening. I welcome you all in the foreign lecture series of University of Engineering and Management UEM Jaipur. It is glorious moment to extend my warm wishes on behalf of the ACM student chapter University of Engineering and Management UEM Jaipur. I want to convey my heartfelt gratitude to the Professor Dr. Celestine Iwendi for accepting the invitation and presiding this webinar on exploring opportunities in COVID-19, artificial intelligence and security. Before we begin the webinar, I would like to talk about our speaker, Professor Dr. Celestine Iwendi. Professor Dr. Celestine Iwendi is a visiting professor with Coal City University, Nigeria, and associate professor with Bangor College of Central South University of Forestry and Technology, China. He is also a fellow of the Higher Education Academy, United Kingdom. His past assignments include senior researcher, WSN Consults Limited, United Kingdom, electronics and sensor researcher, University of Aberdeen, United Kingdom. His research interest includes artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, wireless sensor networks, network, cybersecurity, machine learning, data networks, etc. He has authored over 60 peer-reviewed articles. He has received, he has delivered over 20 plus invited and keynote talk in 5 countries. He is distinguished speaker at ACM, senior member of IEEE, senior member of IEEE Computational Intelligence Society. He is currently serving as the newsletter editor and a board member IEEE Sweden section. He is a student branch counselor and mentoring several PhD students in AI, robotic, Internet of Things, and blockchain. So now I would like to invite our Honorable Vice Chancellor of University of Engineering and Management UEM Jaipur, Professor Dr. Vishwajay Chatterjee, to enlighten today's webinar and give us an introduction about our ACM chapter. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Saitya. I wholeheartedly extend my thanks to Professor Celestine Iwendi for accepting the invitation today and coming to this platform. Our teachers, our students are all very eager to hear from you, sir. And as you can see, there are roughly 350 participants at the moment. And the topic, your topic is really something which is very, very interesting, exploring opportunities in COVID-19, artificial intelligence and security. So I got to understand that you are going to talk about the different opportunities that we can explore during this COVID-19 pandemic using artificial intelligence. And also from reading your topic, I got to understand that you are also going to talk a little bit that how artificial intelligence can help detection of such diseases before it turn into pandemics. So I really believe that will be of immense interest for all. Talking about ACM, definitely ACM is the world's largest scientific and educational society, having its chapters all across the world, amongst which UEM Jaipur is also one of them. It delivers resources that advance computing as a science and as a profession. The premier digital library of ACM serves its members with the leading edge publications, conferences, and resources. It brings together the researchers, the educators, professionals to inspire dialogue, share resources, and address challenges. It is the world's largest computing society, so it strengthens the professionals' collective voice through strong leadership, promotion of the highest standards, and recognition of tech. ACM supports the professional growth of its members by providing opportunities for lifelong learning, career development, and professional networking. The UEM Jaipur student chapter, ACM student chapter, was founded in 2014, and from then onwards, students are giving their best to perform the duties of an ideal student chapter. So I take this opportunity to extend a very warm welcome to Dr. Celestine Iwendi and thank all the students for and Sahitya for organizing this talk. Thank you, sir. It's all over. It's all over to you now. We are eager to hear from you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I wanted to correct something because I've left China. I'm now in UK, so I'm with School of Creative Technology, the University of Bolton in UK. So you see that in the flyer. I want to appreciate everyone again for this time to discuss artificial intelligence and security with you. So let's begin with the activities for today. So we're exploring opportunities in COVID-19, looking at artificial intelligence and security. We first is to appreciate ACM again, the Association for Computing Machinery. You know, this platform, we've been able to deliver this platform to you. So it is the premier global community of computing professionals and students with nearly 100,000 members in more than 170 countries, interacting with more than 2 million computing professionals worldwide. So our mission always include, we help computing professionals to be their best and most creative. We also connect them to their peers, you know, to what the latest development inspire you to advance your profession and make positive impact on the society. Because without the society, whatever we are doing is a wasted venture. So our vision is we see a world where computing helps to solve today's problem, tomorrow's problem, you know, and why we use our knowledge and skills to advance the computing profession and make a positive social impact throughout the world. So I'm a proud member of the ACM, and I know you are also. Some of this work has been taken from my colleagues from HP Labs, HPE partners, university, government, and one of my good friends, the fellow of IEEE, Dejan Milojevic. You know, so I put a lot of things together to make sure you have the best, you know, in this presentation, and to also explore your mentality and bring out your creativity to what some of you are already into. I've followed most of the development from your government, and it's quite impressive, you know, changing the academic system to suit creativity, bringing AI, machine learning, you know, cybersecurity, so that India can become the markets of the world in terms of human capacity. So this is very good, very, very good for the academics and for you as a student, because it also makes you to know that the job, there's always something for you to do. You know, so I will explore what COVID has been able to do, and what the artificial intelligence experts have also been able to predict, and most of the things that you will see. You also see some practical coding style and how you can develop your own research. It's not just being expert in software. No, I try to teach my students to understand the indispensability between the software and the hardware and research publication. You know, it's not just having in Scopus, it's also having SCI. So at the end of this course, I'm going to give you opportunity for many of you who have good papers. You can communicate with me, you know, and we can make sure you publish in SCI. And for some of you who want to further your education, you are welcome for me to supervise you in the University of Bolton in UK. You know, so, and some of you have dreams of so many things. You are free to contact me and connect with me in LinkedIn. So without intelligence, there is no value. According to Kiva Algo, the head of IoT and Automotive at Ericsson. Intelligence. You know, we use the word IoT. Some of you call it IoT. People like us call that is Internet of Things. But people like us, when you bring artificial intelligence into it, we call it intelligence of things. So the key points we are looking at today is changing the world. The kind of banking experience I had in China, you know, AI sustainability, how you can dictate things. You know, when you go to toilet, especially when you are traveling, you see the sensor nodes, you know, sending messages, and displaying so many things. You see, I'll give you some pictures of what the apparatus, the AI system have been able to develop to help curtail the effect of COVID-19 in countries, and why everybody has woken up. Everybody has woken up because it has killed a lot of people, you know. So it's not COVID-19 is not about the rich or the poor. No, it's everybody. It attacks everybody, you know. And we decided to see, even IEEE, most of the journals, they started leaving data free. If you go to IEEE now, most of the data are free. If you're IEEE member, if you're ACM member, they're also free, so that we can do research, that will sustain the future and being able to produce good results. So we look at the cybersecurity. As you are moving into Industry 4.0, remember Industry 4.0 brought into cyber physical systems. But some of us are already looking at Industry 5.0. 3 days ago, I gave a lecture in Industry 5.0 that is going to bring in robotics into Industrial 4.0. So where humans will intermingle with machine. People think, oh, artificial intelligence is going to take my job. No. What we are doing with AI is to help you do your job faster. That is the aim of AI. So I was with a doctor 3 weeks ago, and then the doctor checked my body and he asked me, what do you do? I said, hey, I'm a professor in artificial intelligence. He said, who? In Sweden. And then he said, that the Swedish government is trying to make sure that the doctors use artificial intelligence without actually testing the way it can test me now. And I said, yes, but the thing is that he said he quarrels with it because the data are not enough. The same people who are quarreling in some part of America, some people don't want to take the vaccine, because they feel that the vaccine has so many effects. It has not been tested for a long time. But the good news is that because we have AI in place, we can have things faster than the way we had in Industry 3.0, Industry 2.0, Industry 1.0. So, so I tell people, I say, because we have more results, things are moving faster. We're in a faster age of artificial intelligence. We can have 82%, 50%, 70%, accuracy of things because it has been tested. And that is the aim of using machine learning and artificial intelligence. We'll come down to that when we look at the traditional solutions that are not sufficient. So why? AI enlarges the threat, of security. Industry 4.0 actually brought in expansion because everybody wants to be online. Every company wants to be online. Every manufacturer wants to be online. So because you want to be in the system where node can intermingle with node, where information can go from one source to another, where the TV can mingle with the fridge, where the fridge can mingle with someone in another place, then security, it becomes also an issue. So AI, we are going to apply it to cybersecurity, and in terms of 5G, 5G, 6G, all the Gs, but the more higher you go in terms of the Gs, the higher the cybersecurity risk. That is why currently every company, the world is facing serious cybersecurity risks. And then we in the industry, and also in the academics, we are trying to encourage everyone to do research in this particular area. So we need to react to entire new scenarios. We're looking at the mobility, looking at the Internet of Intelligence of Things, we're looking at the industrial Internet of Things, we're looking at the gaming, looking at deep learning. I wrote an article on AI for gaming. It's huge market. The same way AI for Internet of Energy is huge market, huge area of research that has not been explored. So when I talk to people like this, I talk to students, I tell you, AI and everything about AI is huge. It's how do we say it? It goes across every field, every course. So don't say because I'm a computer scientist, I cannot work with agriculturists. No, you can work with anybody. From the medical, now we are going to look at it in terms of medical area and some other security aspect. But if I go down, we can talk the whole day, the whole week about this prospect of artificial intelligence. You see, so like people say, oh, it's a threat. No, I'll give you why it's not a threat, and then why it's also a solution to industrial of Internet of Things. Then we call for actions like the governments are already working, the industry are coming in place, the academia, we are trying to make noise, good noise. We are trying to bring global, we are trying to solve global challenges. Then I'll give you like I said, Industry 4.0 has not actually been harnessed in its high intensity. It has not actually been, we are not yet there. It's too vast. Industry 4.0 is too vast. It's talking from autonomous to virtual reality, to face recognition, to machine vision, to different kinds of energy, and then to different types of using it in communication, but it's so vast, or robotics, but then that is why we are working on Industry 5.0 that has to do more with robotics, because we feel that robotics can do much more, what humans, places where humans cannot go, robotics can do that. Then, but at the same time, we also look at the software aspect of it. We are going to look at all this. Then that is why we are looking at AI 2.0 for sustainable future, especially for pandemic diseases. China is already thinking that in 2030 they will be ahead of everyone, in AI 2.0. I will give you the secret when we get to that place, what they are doing and what we can do to also do better in our own research area. Then I'll give you also cyber and AI, how it is applied, how you can apply some of them as a researcher, and how you can, I'll give you examples. One of my article, COVID-19 patient health prediction, I did last year, as of today, it got 78 citation, and it's running. And someone said, oh, in less than a year, you already have 78 citations. I said, because the World Health Organization also put it in their website. So why? Because the result happens to be very important in the field of COVID. So that is it. And someone say, you are not a medical doctor. I say, I don't need to be a medical doctor. I just need to have an idea. I need to be creative and bringing it out with my colleagues. And we're able to analyze the solution of checking and predicting what happens, people who are alive, people who are dead, and something that can be, because when you talk about AI, you talk about data. You talk about how you get this data, and because, like I said, data is difficult to realize. Sometimes you pay to get data, and sometimes some government don't want to release the data. Like the data we use happen to be the Wuhan data. I'll come to that and show you how you can also test it on your own, and then get the result and confirm the results that we got, and also help you, stimulate you, kind of, or propel you into your own research in AI. Now, what is the challenging word? The last decade was about connectivity, where everything is connected to each, like I've just mentioned, I mentioned, what do you call it? I mentioned Industry 4.0, so the last decade was about connectivity. Actually, Industry 4.0 was first brought in by German government. German government brought Industry 4.0. So because they wanted the manufacturing things to work and exist, and then people started using it to move on. And now we are thinking already of Industry 5.0. So we describe that, we describe the last decade about connectivity with dynamic with the Internet of Things, according to Steve Cohen, the Vice President of Research at the Consumer Technology Association, to digital trends. So this decade is really about adding intelligence, to different devices, services. So we are confronted with a new paradigm of intelligence of things. We are confronted with intelligence of things. Like I said, some of you call it Internet of Things. Why some of us call it Intelligent of Things? So all tools are being registering numerous successes in major diseases, such as cancer, neurology, and now in coronavirus, COVID-19 detection. So we already know what COVID does. Now, I want you to take note of what COVID does and look at the symptoms. And some of us already know that these symptoms is like fever. It's like those, in a third world country where you say you have malaria, where you experience the several symptoms, which include breathlessness. So you see, fever, cough, nausea, sore throat, blocked nose, runny nose, headache, muscle and joint pains. So what makes COVID-19 different? What makes it different from the normal sickness that we have? Because that's why some people happen to die, because they thought it was just normal sickness. They thought it was normal fever, but then it ended up not to be normal, and then it extended. So can we have vaccine? Now we are having vaccine. Yesterday I just read that there's going to be a top-up vaccine. You know, they call it booster vaccine. And I'm like, oh my, how long, where are we going to stop with this? You know, so you have the first shot, you have the second shot, now booster is coming in, you know, and then after booster, then they say, oh, no, you'll be boosting every year. So you have first booster, second booster, how much boosting will you be boosting? You know, so these are all the issues that are coming in. Can we, as an artificial intelligence experts, as someone in computer analysis, who is a computer analyst, who is a proprietor, a proprietor of ideas in artificial intelligence, come up with much more things the way we have used it in cancer and neurology? Can we bring it to actually nail this COVID-19? That is where we are now. Now look at this. Because what we do mostly in AI is more of prevention. You know, can we actually solve the problem? Now, if you look at the security guide, this is in my former base in Beijing, in China, in Mudiyuan metro station. You know, what do they do? A security guide keeps watch as an AI power system developed by Chinese tech make the screens commuters. Now look at that. It screams them for fevers. And as they enter the Mudiyuan station, so you can wake up and then just maybe you went out eating with your friends in an hotel, and then you come out, you are exhausted, maybe you drank too much, and then you have some fever. And then you pass through this, it detects you have fever. And once it detects you have fever, pam, there is an alert. The next thing is you are quarantined. You know, so, and then after like few days, they let you go if it is only just because you had you drank too much and then it changed your temperature. You know, so this is an issue. Was it really perfect? But then they used it to curtail the effort, you know, to contain the effort of the spread of the new coronavirus in China. So we have been deployed in Mudiyuan metro station. Now let's come back again. Let's look at what is the new normal. What are we keeping up? Because when you start thinking of artificial intelligence, when you start thinking of COVID, you start thinking of, you know, what can we do more than the normal? Look at the microprocessors from 1975 to 2015. Look at the rate it has been increasing. You know, it has been increasing from number of cores, typical power, frequency, single thread performance, transistors. So we are, you know, the gap has been moving up. 42 years of microprocessor trend data. These are the things we are going to be using to analyze a lot of security effects. Now look at the global data sphere. Data nearly doubles every 2 years from 2013 to 2025. You know, look at the projection. So we have an increase of data. You know, by 2025 is going to get so much. You know, a lot of data has to be used. Now, most of our systems are now outdated. We're talking about using memory, RAM, random access memory, and the ROM. Everything is in gigabyte and terabyte, and then we are going to have much more later on. So are we keeping up with this new normal? Now, what is driving the data explosion? Look at the structured data. We're talking about 40 petabytes. According to Woman's transaction database, centralized attack system. You see the way the way the data is also increasing, the way it's also increasing the attack system. Now, human interaction data, we're talking about 4 petabytes a day. We see what happened per day posting to Facebook. In 2017, 2 billion users. Now, imagine how many billion users they have now. That is 2 mega MB per active user. So distributed service attack is proportional to the number of humans. Then the more people are increasing, the more people are using the data, the more companies are also expanding. So we have so many things going on. So the more we digitalize, which is the aim of Industry 4.0, the more we digitalize analog system, the more we have issues like 10 million connected cars, so on. You have the front camera, you have the front radar sensors, the crash sensors, the real radar sensors, the real ultrasonic cameras, and so on. So how big is attack surface? So if you look at every area in electronics, you see that the more it's expanding, the more we are bringing new system, the more we're also increasing the attack the vulnerability of this system. You know, someone told me, oh, I don't want to be online. I said, no, if you don't want to be online, someone will put you online. You know, I know a lot of friends who say, I don't want to be on Facebook. I said, lovely. Then I showed the person that, you see, because you're a popular person, look at your page on Facebook. He said, I did not create it. I said, you don't need to create it. Because you are popular, people will create it. So the best way to fight people or to prevent people from using your name to extort your fans is to be on Facebook, so that you can have a secured link, you know, a verified link, and your verified link can also always report the fake link. That means you have to be in to protect those ones, to protect yourself. If you're not in, you know, you're not in Instagram, people will create it. You're not in TikTok, people will create it. As long as you have a name, people will create anything for you. So first is to be there, so that once you are there, people will look for which one is your original link. That is how it is. So the more it is, the more it's also expanded. The more you're also worried about people you do business with you. You know, you have a website, people are there trying to penetrate into your website. It's your duty, you know, under ethics law, that it is your duty to protect your customers. It is your duty to know who comes in. Maybe you have a book to sell. Maybe you have something you are selling and people are using their card, credit card. How do you protect them? How do you protect your own server, so that people cannot hack into your server to get the detailed contact of your customers? Now imagine what happened. Last 2 years summer, I was with my family in South Africa. So we went to Johannesburg, wanted to see around the whole city. So we boarded a tour bus, and then we were waiting for the bus to arrive. Somebody just came to my wife and said, oh, have you gotten the receipt? Have you gotten the card? And she said, yes. Oh, guy, but there's something you have to pay. So I was somewhere, you know, trying to buy water for the trip. And then the next thing, I saw a car zoomed in, and then my wife was screaming, they took my car, and you know, the man zoomed off. And I was like, wow, what did I do? I had to call Sweden immediately. You know, I called Sweden, I called my bank in Sweden, and then I said, hey, they took my wife's car, and then the card was dismembered, and you know, they told me, no, don't worry, we have taken care about it. You know, that is what we are talking about. How big is the attack? Now imagine my bank doesn't have that facility to block that card in a jiffy. Then there is going to be a problem. You know, because some people were telling us, you know, oh, someone here lost $2,000 last week. Someone here lost 5,000 last 2 weeks. And I'm like, so this is a normal business in Johannesburg. You know, so what am I saying? Ability to protect your customers because you are online. So as someone who is in computer science, it is your duty to see what your company is doing. If you go on to have your own company, then you have the responsibility to stand in. As it's vast. Someone said, oh, I don't have a job. I said, no, there are many places you need to work. The problem is that most people are not reporting the kind of losses they are having. So because they are not reporting it, it's as if it's not happening. I want to tell you, every day banks are being hacked. Every day, if you are into security, it's a general problem. You know, sometimes it takes a long time. Sometimes banks don't want to say, so that people don't want to start withdrawing their money. You know, including I read in the newspaper that some people were using fake sugar and water to inject on people and telling them it's COVID vaccine. You see, so many things are going on, and some people are using it to make money. You see, and then killing people. I've seen in those days, you know, when Ebola started, some people say take baths with salt. You know, you can imagine pouring, you know, salt on your body, and then that it will cure Ebola. You know, there is kind of fake news that goes on. You know, I wrote many books, many papers on fake news, you know, in Twitter, and how you can use AI to detect them. If you check my profile, you see a lot of things that is going on. So we have the attack is big. It's bigger than what we can imagine. And that is because the data are increasing. The more the data, now look at this autonomous car. The leader using HP based system, including the diagram. Now you see the leader for sensors, the cost. You see the cost You see the way it's increasing in terms of unit cost, the camera, and different types of scenario. So we expect the prevailing sensor suite to include up to 12 cameras and so on. That is the more it is. Now, the cost is $100,000 today. But what is the projection in 2025? In 2025, we are projecting based on AI, according to HP, they said it will be $10,000. So, it's not only just that AI is helping, to solve immediate problem. It's also helping to reduce costs to consumers. Imagine what it is that you, as an analyst, is being able to build a good AI system for Internet of Energy, where consumers can now predict how much energy they will use, predict where there is going to be an energy issue, and then save the cost. So you see, if you have that in your business plan, to save the cost for the consumers, to also know how much energy you need to save for tomorrow, for the next tomorrow, how much energy you need to use. So these are all vast areas that we are talking about, apart from autonomous cars. Then look at mobility. Some of you are in this research already, edge and core, resource data management research. Look at metro data center with low power inference, engines for safe autonomous operations, check in terms of endpoint devices. We're looking at the secure connectivity with resilient platform services, data. I'm trying to show that every single interface is increasing the attack surface. Now look at the mini data center that ingests vehicle data via Wi-Fi as they return to terminal due to, during off-hour hours or maintenance. Then look at the Wi-Fi on ramp to 5G network that allows seamless connectivity to local area network, wide area network, resources. Then come back again to the, standard D1, that provide connectivity between the edge and core data centers. Or you move into composable memory-driven computing area. You see, as I'm expanding this, I'm expanding your horizon and your creativity to areas of your research, either for your bachelor thesis or your master's thesis or your PhD novelty idea. So look at our composable pools of memory and GPUs for big data training. Or you look at the edge to core resource and data management through an integrated IoT platform that enables the deployment, management of data and resources in terms of computing and that. Or you finally look at the composable memory-driven computing that enables fast processing of traffic and transportation data. You see, so for you working in the edge or the cloud or the core, you see the intelligent mobility that every surface is increasing the attack surface. So if it's increasing the attack surface, we have to generate different ways of AI solution. So that's why I bring up this, thinking about AI as a solution or as a threat. Because some people, even before today, they will be telling you AI is a threat. Now, look at this. I just gave you an instant what happened in South Africa with a bank card, But banks are actually evaluating AI-enabled real-time analysis of ATM use. I tell close friends, I said, it is not every ATM you go in and put your card. Before I use an ATM, I will first look around what is the security atmosphere of that ATM machine. Because if it is not secure, that ATM machine can have a counterfeit where your card can be immediately accessed. So I tell people, I said, it's not everywhere you travel, as tourists, you want to travel, you want to slot in your card. It's not everywhere, So because of this, banks are evaluating AI-enabled real-time analysis of ATM use, including automatic footage analysis, enabling faster responses to fraudulent transactions. That was why my bank was able to tell me where the person that took our card in South Africa put in the card to test, to use. But funny enough, the person used it, wanted to buy online because he was not fast enough to get the code. So because the thing has been disorganized, they were like, oh, the card was used here, but the transaction was denied. You see, Why? Because we have an enable real-time analysis that could check this. But banks are working faster and better than what we have now. Now look at Australian utility company. It's using predictive-based analytics, drawing on an IoT data stream to predict which condition result in equipment failure. As a result, it can take preventive action in time, avoiding costly repairs. Take note of that word, preventive action. Now, that is one of the reasons we are using AI in COVID issues, and we're trying to use it in medical areas. The way I told the doctor in Sweden, I said, this is why AI is coming in to be helper to those humans using this particular thing, so that we can have preventive measures. We don't need 1 million people to die before we wake up. You know, we don't need our loved ones to die before we do something right. So that is why this course is very important to all of you listening today, because I'm challenging you to do something with your research. You see, gone are the days where your research is being dumped in your library. No, you see, I just told you, paper I wrote in 2002 last year is getting 78 citation. I checked today, it has 28,000 viewers, people who have read it. 28,000. You know, so and then it's already posted in World Health Organization. You know, and someone said, oh, from your small room you could do this idea. It doesn't matter where you have come from. What matters is, what are you made of? You know, the things that you can deliver, the solution you can prepare. My student in masters, my master's student in bachelor student, I happen to be the one who did the second supervision for him at the University of Aberdeen. And he wrote me, he said, do you know that project you did with me? I went to a company called me. I said, what company? He said, Apple. I said, oh, Apple called you. Where? In US? Because he traveled to US. He said, then they called him. They said they are going to employ him if he can give them my codes. You know, so he said, you know, my teacher in Aberdeen, you know, nobody knows him. You want his code? They said they have looked at everything we have done, because 2009, I was the one who first thought about, you know, securing Internet of Things. You know, even though people don't give me that this thing, but I first wrote a paper on it, and then started moving it, and people started using it even without referencing me. You know, but the good news is that I felt fulfilled that my code is being asked of by Apple. You understand? And then this it boosted my area in terms of security. You see, so the idea is ability to prevent. Rolls-Royce is using AI-powered computing platforms to analyze the data generated by its aircraft engines. As a result, Rolls-Royce can make design changes and operational recommendations that reduce airline fuel consumption. You know, you see a lot of things. My colleagues in Linköping University in Sweden, they are working on communication security, you know, using this AI platform, security where people can actually use their phone, you know, on the air, and then without interfering into the system, the airline system, you know, and then try to also have security, you know, with that being protected. And so these are all this research that are going on. So we're having it as a solution, actually not as a threat. Like I told you, 3 things AI is bringing up in any organization. The utilization of this is, number 1, detection. Ability to detect, we have different percentages of that in terms of high utilization, medium utilization, low utilization, and then ability to predict, and the ability to respond. So these are the areas we are looking at AI, that we are saying that AI works in terms of detection, prediction, and response. Then that brings us back into what we call supervised learning and unsupervised learning. Now you can see in supervised learning in AI, and sorry, I'm talking most of the things because I have them in my head, so you may not see them in the slide, but as you listen very carefully, you'll be picking these ideas. Supervised learning, you have all the algorithms, you know, random forest and many other algorithms that have been developed in supervised learning. People like us, we are looking at unsupervised learning, where everything will be discussed, determined by data itself. Not just because all the supervised learning that we know we're using currently on AI, I see them as a limitation already. They are limited. Why? Because they are controlled. you know, and because they are controlled, we are not actually getting. So we can say we have 45%. You see, like the code I'm going to give you now, you know, show you another thing. If you run it, you may get maybe one I got 95% or 98%. You may get 70%. You know, the one I got, what do you call it, 80%. You may end up getting 90%. So everything varies, you know, when you use this. Why? Because those algorithms have been tampered by human. So that is why we call them supervised learning. But unsupervised learning is where the data can determine itself. That is the next generation AI. I will come down to it again later on. Okay. Now, let's look at the IoT vulnerabilities. What makes us to start looking at AI in this COVID-19 era? They are weak. They are gullible. They are hard-coded passwords, insecure network services. No matter how much Internet of Things that you are using, you begin to see insecure ecosystem interfaces. You see lack of secure update mechanism. You see insufficient privacy protection. You know, a lot of IEEE, ACM, everyone is working, you know, in terms of privacy, ethics, and, you know, different companies, different countries. You know, insecure data transfers and storage. You know, even EU, because of Brexit, EU and EU and the UK, you know, they're still arguing in terms of data, how much data will release to them. You know, so many things are going on. Lack of device management. You know, so these are IoT vulnerabilities. And then, you know, another one is looking at IoT real-time data collection. You know, because they are connected to a server or via internet, we look at how do you bring up these protocols like the MQTT, SMPP, AMQ, you know, QP, or even HTTP with the REST API or WebSockets. You know, so because the data are generated from the devices, so we try to store them in a database. And by storing them in a database, we also give room for security attack. And that is where people read this data. So you have the IoT data. It's mostly unstructured, and so can be easily be stored in also in public cloud infrastructure. See, so these are all these in terms of real-time data collection and also the IoT vulnerabilities. So we are, like I said, we have used this in deep learning, in cybersecurity. I've written some papers on intrusion detection, IDS, where you talk about anomaly-based models that use auto encoders, you know, fully connected at a CNN or RNN. That we have used it in terms of malware detection, where people talk about classification-based models that use fully connected, what do you call it, connected neural networks. You know, I wrote one article on using I analyzed bacteria, and I wanted to say, with the way bacteria is moving, that it has its own neural networks, and then can we use it in artificial intelligence? You know, and then I also talked of the spam and the phishing detection. We use deep learning methods, you know, for natural language processing, and, you know, talking with people who are English students, you know, are trying to get what you call it, facial recognition. Just yesterday, this morning, my wife was telling me something, you know, that someone in America was jailed, you know, because they wrongfully, you know, used facial recognition to say he was the one in the crime scene. You know, and I told her, I said, oh, that is wrong. And then, so, you know, they brought an expert in AI who was telling them that even when he teaches machine learning, he is very careful, you know, in telling them about, you know, the different algorithm, you know, in terms of looking at the probability, that the probability of any event can be 1 over 1 million. That means it can be anybody. So that when you work with artificial intelligence, you must try to balance it with something else. No wonder EU, European Union says facial recognition is being banned in public places. Why? Because people can use it anytime. You may not be in Jericho, you may not be in London, and people will position you in London, and then they will say you committed a crime. You see, so these are all the things that are possible with AI. The way we're looking at using it to solve problems, some people are also using it to create problems. You know, so traffic analysis, protocol identification, classification-based fully connected RNN models, you know, analysis of binary codes. You know, we have used it in terms of domain name generation algorithms, you know, looking at the binary classifiers, You see, so, but what am I trying to point out here? That Internet of Intelligence of Things, IIoT, we are referring to billions of internet connected devices deployed around the world. So we should be ready for cybersecurity effects. We should be ready for cybersecurity war. If we are expecting that 25 million, or what do you call billion, of things will be interconnected in 2050 they have, then you are going to have a lot of problems. Then it's also going to create a lot of job for many of you listening to me today. So in summary, I could see, differentiate the kind of things we abuse. That artificial intelligence and machine learning can draw more advanced insights from data, and draw this insight more rapidly. Take note, it says can draw from data. So that is why I said I was telling you about unsupervised learning, that we are believing more that AI can be imposed. We can use supervised learning in this data, so we can get more insight more rapidly, and we can also identify unusual trends with greater accuracy and remove the need for human data review by using computer vision and speech recognition. This is where we are going to, So, but then as a bias, we already know, bias occurs when results are produced that are systematically prejudiced, due to the so many assumptions that are in the process. Like I said, algorithms can be designed by individuals with conscious or unconscious precedent. People design this algorithm, and like in most of the algorithm in supervised learning, I've mentioned before, in training, because you can't mention artificial intelligence when you get the data. First is to train the data. First is to clean the data. The next thing is to train the data. So ability to train the data, people can also train with bias. And if you train with bias, once you input a wrong data, you get wrong results. That is why I can look at your code, look at the data. I can also see the changes coming from the features that you have used. You can use a different feature based on the scenario. So it all depends on human ability to streamline what AI can actually do. That is where you have problems in AI. Or sometimes you're like, compromise. Okay, assume that this is this, then that one will be this. If probability of B is, if B has probability based that A is true, the probability of A based that B is not true. So when you start bringing these things in, you start having, you start discovering trivial issues. You start discovering problems in using AI. So now let's continue. Let's go back again to HP Lab, what they have been able to do with next generation accelerators. I'll tell you why that is important, because we're talking about security. So HP, they are working ahead to bring out, current computing workloads, for example, can predominant limited by data, so the data movement, according to using the von Neumann bottleneck. So they developed novel non-von Neumann architecture. What have they done? They combine existing CMOS plus non-volatile analog in memory processing. So they're trying to use the memory processing system to develop a security for hardwares. Matrix operation in a single circle, pattern matching, content addressable memories. So some application of this area is neural network inference that speed up, with 10 times lower, and have what you call lower cost of over GPUs. Then they have also looked at alternative to quantum for solving MP hard optimization problems, supply chain, scheduling, threat mitigation. They've also used it in network security. This is where I'm interested in. Recognize attack signatures in packet data at wire speed, greater or equal to 100 GPS, 25 times better than using FPGAs. So FPGAs, we are now moving to a higher level, where developed by HP, in the next generation accelerators. So I expect bigger things to start happening very soon. So what they did in continuation was they combined the analog digital approach, to gain across this application in terms of optimization accelerator, AI accelerator using deep learning inference, then coming back to network security acceleration, where you find attack signature on data packets at wire speeds. So you could see in that AI accelerator, they've been able to detect security threats, using image classifier, and also speech recognition. So these are the things they have done. You see, they have combined CMOS plus non-volatile analog technology for in-memory processing. That is what HP is working on. Now, then they also use it to recognize the attack signatures, in memory processing architectures that provides finite state machine in hardware to match patterns, in using non-volatile analog technology to reduce the power and area. So this is what they are currently working on. And much more, they have reduced surface attack, which is a case of possibilities, looking at different area from cluster to VM, container, serverless, and so on. These are the things they have done. Let me give you one more about them. They've transformed performance with memory-driven programming. Now, in the similar manner, we need to rethink how we deal with security in terms of modifying existing framework, new algorithm, looking at other things. But most companies at times look at the financial model because they want to be sure what they are putting their money into. But these are all the things that are happening with memory-driven programming. Like we know, they have used memory-driven computing, that outspaced the global time bomb in using them for neurodegenerative diseases. You see, all this has been already used in medical aspect, cutting down different power research costs, analytic research bottlenecks, shorter processing time. We're talking about 10 seconds, something that takes 22 minutes, taking 13 seconds. So using it to solve issues like Alzheimer's and so many other sicknesses. So we are actually thinking in an efficiency of cyber analysis now. Now, like I said, attacks are a growing problem. Government prevention is nearly impossible unless you are perfect, but no system is perfect. Given enough time, attackers can gain access to whatever you are doing. Cost of attack is also very low. It's so low. Automated probing will find a weakness, advanced system threats every day. Yesterday, what do you call them? Microsoft was sending me a message. Oh, can you update your system because we have sensed an attack? So everybody is working to make sure that their customers are not put into problem, because under ethics, you are responsible to protect anyone that uses your software. It is not just developing and putting it in the market. It's also developing and monitoring to make sure that your systems are the threats can be curtailed, can be monitored, So, but like I said, persistent threats, hackers are patient. So when they release, it becomes a general problem. Okay, why is AI then the future of Internet of Intelligence of Things? 61% of enterprises say they cannot detect breach without using the AI technologies. 48% say their budget in AI will increase by average in the fiscal year. Then I got 2020, but now because of Corona, you are going to have more fiscal year in 2021 and 2022. Now look at Cisco. This is one company. They reported in 2018 they blocked 7 trillion threats. One company blocked 7 trillion threats on behalf of their customers. Now imagine what Microsoft and others are doing. So we are having huge problems because of the more we are increasing in Industry 5.0, we are increasing in terms of the AI mechanism, the future of the different levels of artificial intelligence. But it's also looking at the benefits. That's why some of you are here today, because it all depends on the analyst. We don't have the people, so we need the people. That's why we are teaching you this, so you can be part of what is happening in cybersecurity ventures. There's so many on-field jobs, so many jobs, and what your government is planning is massive. To make sure that your people can work cybersecurity from anywhere in the world. So, but if your government is able to harness these possibilities, it means that the job market, people won't say they don't have job. It will also make you work at home and work anywhere in the world. Where a lot of Indians will be everywhere working in these areas. Like the right training. People don't have the right training. That's why we are, like your head of department said, we need the right training. The high turnover is not just going to be the right training, it's not going to yield a lot of money. But like we said, it has to begin from the top, from the government to the academic, and then for us in academic to put it in academic curriculum. I'm designing something in Bolton now, and then trying to make sure that you have all the AI courses, from research methodologies in different areas that has to do with for the postgraduate students, so that they have a bit of what this is talking about, and for those who wants to specialize in cybersecurity and that. So a new report co-authored by PYC and Microsoft, they said AI can enable a sustainable future. They argue that artificial intelligence technologies are among those that can and will have effective change. It claims nothing short of both. So we're talking about environmental application. In 4 area alone could contribute 5.2 trillion USD to the global economy in 2030. We're talking of huge money, huge amount of money. If I move into Internet of Energy, you see a lot of money. Every area. Reduce worldwide emission by 4% in 2030 and create 38.2 million net new jobs. Remember, they did this analysis before COVID. Now, when COVID came, we now see more opportunity in this area of AI. Having a good sustainable future where everything interconnect with everything. I was thinking of security, and I brought up this idea. I made this diagram. I'm thinking of a way where everything will be interconnected. And if everything is interconnected, how do you sustain the city? How do we make it that the trees cannot withstand, cannot block cannot obstruct? Where you have the what you call no clear light of insight. You have the different client station. You have the internet ISP. You have everything, every node, every mobile phone becomes usable. That is the sustainable future we are looking at. Now, so like the response, we are responding. The corporate, the investigating, the cleaning and fixing, the capturing intel, evaluating different planning and documentation. We're trying to make sure that we're having automatic response with AI. And the reason is because of the performance, the scale, and the corporate knowledge. With AI experience must be transferred to new analysts. That is why I chose to be part of this lecture. Ability to give you much more what you should expect in your research and your training. So barriers to implementing this, we have lack of operational metrics, preventing adversarial attacks, ensuring AI is performing as expected, lack of realistic training data, good enough IEEE ACM that doing something about it, lack of standardized workflows to enable integration of AI into current processes. Like I said, most companies initially were like, oh, AI is new, how do we implement it into our mechanical system? So we are now trying to let them know it costs much more for a longer time to have it in your initial development. So you have to look at it. We're also looking at bridge, creating bridge, a lot of processes that will bridge between the mechanical system and the AI system, human and artificial, intelligence merging to produce, so that we don't need to have much more new product. So this is all what we are doing with, with the idea. But lack of human machine teaming model is also the issue. So there's so many models, everything we have to think about, and then we have to be responsible for the training of the AI. Now, so because of that, we are partnering with the government, because the government can't do it alone, industry can't do it alone. IEEE, they've tried in terms of creating standard, and ACM, they're all there, academy, and then the academy, we're also there trying to bring out, to merge the industry, the relationship between the industry and the company. And very important, which I will encourage your school, is ability to collaborate with our school or with other schools to develop much more international programs, where like what we do in China, where our students come to UK, to do their masters and continuation, and also to have lecturers coming in, having an interchange program. So where everybody is working, everybody is working to make sure that we are able to develop standards, we're able to build collaboration. Papers are being written, things are being done, but much more work is needed. So, like I said, the areas of potential standardization, format, a policy, policy is a big issue for AI and MI configuration, capture strategies, standard to define and capture execution environment, capture analysis steps. We're looking at the process where you talk about the framework, processes and structure, the challenge. There's so many things has been coming up, and people are bringing a lot of challenge, a lot of things for students to partake in and develop. Now, but then let me come down to AI 2.0 for sustainable future. Remember when I started, I said China is ahead. China is thinking more ahead, but every other company, every other countries are waking up. EU, everyone, they're waking up because, and then they plan to launch the next generation AI 2.0 by 2030. I told you this is a secret, that we're making open now, so because they want to be global leader in the development of artificial intelligence technology. So what are they looking at? They're focusing on 5 areas. Number 1, big data intelligence. Now, as I'm mentioning now, this is a huge area for research. For anybody who is talking of going to research, take note of this point, because whatever you are doing now in computing analysis is based here. But now look at the much more than what you are doing. Look at much more than what you are doing. Transform big data into insights and then renders and optimize engagement capability involving the active agents, including the big data intelligence strategies, the analysts, the data intelligence warehouse architects, data scientists, implementation and development experts. So they are looking at this area for expansion. They are looking at area of crowd intelligence, where you use in terms of using the crowd, facial recognition and others, to solve crime issues in big cities and small cities, essentially internet-based collective intelligence, where everything everywhere can be a node that picks information, so it's like policing a city, policing a nation, Now, using cross-media intelligence, they are planning to integrate data-driven machine learning with human knowledge, using cross-media data and make prediction. You see, recognition, analysis, and reasoning of this data. They are also looking at hybrid augmented intelligence, where you create a hybrid collaboration between humans and machine. Long-term goal is to make machine think like human. Last week I was listening to a $1 billion investment, by the Chinese government. They put on some primary schools, and they put thing on them, some micro electrode to detect, to see the students, primary school, to notice students who are attentive, So, and I was having a very good debate with my wife. I'm like, you see, now this is the way you are dictating whether they are attentive, who is, the level of reasoning, the level of understanding. If it is happening that way, they can also have a situation where those things, as you are reasoning it can also be things put going back to your brain, so that they can function in a particular way. So if they are able to develop reasoning, using those AI to equipment to make sure students are active in class. But then I told my wife, I said I wanted to see the end of the movie, because the end of the movie said the broadcaster wanted to test, but they did not tell me what happened when he tested. Because sometimes, like I said, when you use AI, it's all about features. So I wanted to know what features did they use in getting those electrodes to monitor the children when they are active. And number 2, I can be active, I can be writing, does not make me to be active. My hands can be moving, does not make my intelligence to be moving. It can be moving and thinking something else. It may not be that I'm sleeping. It may not be that I'm thinking, but I'm thinking. So I wanted to know how they tested it on a grown-up news journalist that was in that thing, but they did not show that. So, but this is what I mentioned here, that they are looking at hybrid augmented intelligence, where machine can think like human. Of course, it's going to be more powerful than machine or human intelligence. So they're also looking at unmanned autonomous systems. The big next step in the fusion of mechanical system, computing technology, sensors. Remember I mentioned Internet of Intelligence, Internet of Energy, where you have a lot of mechanical systems, but that is going to be infused with computing technology. You're talking about cloud technology. We're talking about sensors, Internet of Things, Internet of things, Internet of services, software to create intelligent systems capable of interacting with the complexities of the real world. This is next generation AI planned by China. So some of you can look at these areas and see what we're talking about. So let's look at some practicalities of AI and ML. What you need to build an intrusion detection system, for example, or a recommender system. So you need your Python development environment. These are now for practical students if you want to test this. So and these things are free online. So download them, download Anaconda, launch it, or download a natural language toolkit. Once you download it, then they're all algorithms depending on what you want to use. So you create them, you get other packages needed for your work. For example, for a recommender system, I did project where to install recommender, I needed a surprise algorithm called surprise, the software package. And then for NLTK, there's natural language toolkit. I use for Internet of Medical Things. I use NumPy. You have Panda, sorry, and you have to plot your thing that will look like MATLAB. You have Matplot Live. You download the PyPlot, and Seaborn. So you download the packages based on what you are doing. You see one of the examples, and some of you can practice the code. After this presentation, this is the one I told you that was being cited by 78 people so far, and being read by over 28,000 people. So we call it COVID-19 patient health prediction using boosted random forest algorithm. It's just an example. I give you this example to how to implement AI and ML, in your idea. So you see how it is. The best way to learn is to learn from one example. Once you learn from that example, you see the code, how the code are written. I've told you what you need to download. And then once you read that, you can now also start thinking. Remember, what they call novelty. What is novelty? Someone wrote me and said, oh, how can I get novelty? I said, if you want to get novelty, two things. Look at the abstract, look at the conclusion. At the end of every paper you read, the conclusion we have. Any paper that does not have future work is not a good paper. When I read a paper, I take 10 minutes to look at a paper and I can tell you if it's a good paper or not. So if you have future work, and then don't take future work of 2020, 1990 paper, 2000 paper, because somebody might have solved the problem of their future work. So that is why I encourage people, when you write reports, when you write papers for presentation, for publication, make sure you use recent paper. You can quote some past papers, but please use recent papers and look at the end. You can get an idea, where the paper you have read become the base of your idea. And that is what we call PhD. PhD is ability to take from what? If you're writing literature reviews or you're writing proposal for your PhD or for your master's, you must use literature review of other people's work. Look at it, read it, and then look at like I told you, the abstract will give you a summary of what, why, how of what they have done, and then look at the conclusion, which will give you what, why, how of what they did, and then look at the next area, future works. That future work, you can use that and develop your own idea, and then use their base, use their code, and develop your own idea for your paper, for your master's or for your PhD, and develop it. So what we did here is this paper aims to fill the voice of the traditional healthcare system by using machine learning algorithms to simultaneously process the healthcare and travel data along with other parameters. Remember, I told you AI, you need to choose which parameters, features, of COVID-19 positive patients. So we chose some parameters in Wuhan to predict the most likely outcome of a patient based on their symptoms, travel history, and the delay in reporting the case. By identifying the patterns from the previous patient data, our contribution in the work were we check processing of healthcare and travel data using machine learning algorithms in place of traditional healthcare system to identify COVID-infected persons. So this work compared multiple algorithms that are available for processing the patient data and identify boosted random forest as the best method for processing data. Further, we executed a grid search to fine-tune the hyperparameters of boosted random forest algorithm, and then we improve the performance. Then our work obliterates the need to recompare the existing algorithms, when you are working for processing COVID-19 patient data. This work will also enable the researchers to further work. You see why people like quoting it, because we gave them what will help you to work. Sometimes you don't solve a problem. Sometimes you help people solve their problem. So that is what we do in research. So every research, every paper I read, I pick one thing from there. And that is why we put them as we cite them in papers. So we cite because we pick an idea that we want to work on. Sometimes our idea can better the idea of yesterday. So these are all the things that you see in research. So to develop a solution that combines the processing of patient demographic, travel, subjective health data with the image data scans for better prediction of COVID-19 patient healthcare. This paper was published, in what do you call it, in Journal of Frontier Public Health. I think the impact factor is now has increased, I think, to 3 point something, but it has increased. So the RQ1 data paper, what do you need to do? Inside the paper, if you look at it, we have the repositories for reproducing code. So check it out, in GitHub. You see there, Peshka, my student, posted it there. You see the original data set, so some of you are working in COVID or machine learning. If you want any related health thing, you pick that data set, So what you do is download, click the link, download place the CVD directly in your Google Drive, download it, connect the Colab notebook to Google Drive, run the COVID-19 patient healthcare file, and you see exactly the result we get, or something much more. Like I said, any day, anytime you run a code, you are likely going to get some 0 point something% higher or lower, depending on what you're using and depending on the capacity of your laptop or your data or your desktop that you have used. So in conclusion, I've been looking at the time so that I can take some questions, and then we can call it a day. In conclusion, like I said, Internet of Things, intelligence of things, and AI might help to prevent future outbreak of disease. Imagine a global network of sensors and systems that provide an early warning system where infectious disease threaten to become pandemics. Building one will be enormous undertaking for government around the world, but the potential is unquestionable. Now, that is it. So the more we build, but the issue is not just building. The issue is looking at the securing the intelligence of things. So this will become vital, and we need to prevent hackers from gaining access to this beautiful idea. So, like I said, I have funding available for top papers. If you have top paper, you can connect with me, and you can connect for collaboration. If you are ready to work, any student is ready to work, I have lots of ideas. On my desk, I have 14 papers now I'm looking at. I have 10 papers already submitted. This is July. I already have 11 papers published for this year. Last year, I had 20. So I'm working. I work very hard. So if you are ready to work with me and you are ready to work hard, you are free to connect. If you want to do your master's or PhD in UK, you can also connect so that we can talk with HR for you. And remember to continue to be a member of ACM. This is made possible for you by Association for Computing Machinery, advancing computing as a science and profession. Thank you very much. Questions, please.
Good afternoon, sir. Actually, there are a few questions in the questions box. It was really a wonderful presentation, an eye-opener. So see, most of the questions I can see on the chat box are from the students who have passed to their second, who are in their BTech. They have just gone to the second year or they have gone to the third year. So artificial intelligence is something new for them. So few questions are very basic, but still, because they are students, I take your permission to put those forward to you. So one question like from Anurag Chatterjee, who is in second year, he is asking, sir, which language should I use if I want to do AI programming from right now, from second year? Which language, programming language should I use?
Yes, I was just preparing a particular course on that. I'll tell you, when it is AI, use Python, learn Python. When it's about AI, cybersecurity especially, learn Python. Python is the current one, vastly used in AI. At least
Okay.
since if you're just starting, learn Python. I'm developing a course now. I'm going to a new course for Bolton on the programming for cybersecurity, and it's going to be based on Python. So learn Python is very important. There are a lot of in YouTube. There are a lot of courses, 6 hours, 7 hours. If you have the time, download it. It's also free, and learn it. So that will help you for that.
Okay. Anurag, I believe you got your answer, because Python is something which is very much there in your BTech syllabus, and I'm sure that you are preparing Python well. So you can definitely take up artificial intelligence and communicate with sir. He has given all contacts if you want to work. Okay, so how, sir, one question is regarding, you have already answered this question, I believe. Preeti, your question, I believe, has already been answered, that how artificial intelligence is helping or developing humanity. In fact, sir's entire lecture was based on that only, that how it is developing humanity. But sir, would you like to add anything in particular to this question?
I've already said that it's everywhere. It's in every
Yes.
field. So, like I just gave on the medical aspect, if I talk on energy, it's a different topic. If I talk on, civil engineering, if I talk on facial recognition, it's kind of computer vision, it's very vast. It's very vast. So I like I said, it lacks people. So we need more people in this area to do the detection, prevention, and response. It's a whole lot of work.
Right, sir. So that is something. Okay, there is a question from Sonu Sharma. How is artificial intelligence playing a role in COVID-19 situation? So I think this question has also been answered, Sonu.
Yes, with
But
examples
yes,
of MUDU-Yuan station, a train station in Beijing, where we are using it to check for facial people who have fever, and then including your Moderna, Pfizer, AstraZeneca. These were all AI being used to make it faster. If not, it would have been very difficult, because we know drug manufacturing takes time. That's why some old traditional belief still feel it should have taken 5 years. So, to see the test, the reactions. But AI is making it faster, because they are all implementing AI algorithms, and that is what AI does. AI doesn't need all the data. You just need some data, some features, and to predict what will happen. And most of the time, that's why we have accuracy levels, different accuracy levels. At least it's better to save some life than to lose more lives. So that is why even IEEE were like, get the vaccine, because it's better to save somebody's life than to lose our life. So it may not be that perfect. I'm not here to tell you AI is perfect, it's everything. No, but I'm here to tell you it helps. It would have helped if it has been in place before to reduce the level of death. It shouldn't have been so widespread all over the world. But good that G8 met the other day, and then they said what happened with COVID will never happen again. Because people were losing their resources, their businesses, everything. So it's not only just that it was killing, it was also killing businesses. So we are trying. They are looking at in the future where this cannot be. So they are pumping money, and that has been our prayers. Pump money, go spend money. Now your government is coming up. It's good. So it's putting money, and the more they put money, the more they create jobs for you who are coming up, and you get motivated that whatever you are doing is practicable in the world. So you have something to give back to the world. Yes.
thank you, sir. So again, you focused a lot on it. So there is a question from Subham Gaurisaria. Sir, I believe he's doing some practical problem on Turing test or something like that. So he asks, sir, what is the relation of Turing test with AI? I'm
Of
not
what?
sure whether Turing test, Turing,
Hearing.
Turing, Turing test. Yes, Turing test. So the
Okay,
Turing
where
machine,
did
I
you
think he is
use it?
relating that. I'm not sure, sir. Shubham, I think you can focus a little more. You can
You
make your
can, oh
question
yeah, or you
maybe.
can send me an email because it's sounding
Yes,
maybe the
yes,
pronunciation or something. You can send me
yes.
an email, then we can talk more further on that. Mm.
Right, sir.
Because I think it's going much more into a particular area, so I want to know what it's using it for. Mm.
Okay. Okay, so Rishi Kumar Bhardwaj. Rishi, I believe again you have got his question was posed maybe about 20-25 minutes back. So I believe Rishi, you got your answer also. His question is, can artificial intelligence self-improve based on internet knowledge? That is what sir talked about, machine learning. He talked a lot about it. So sir, would you
Mm.
like to add anything or I go to the next question? His
Just go
question
to
was,
this. Make sure that this broadcast is made available to them because we have spoken for more than an hour, so they will have
yes,
all the, they can go through and see. You
yes,
have
sir.
a lot of information that has been given out today, so I
Yes,
know
sir. So
the.
about 500 attendees are attending at the moment, as you can see on the attendees section. So this entire recording of this section will be available in our channel, and so I will send you a link also so that you can also send it to people who are interested. Okay,
Okay.
so I believe I'm just trying to find other questions. There are many comments in the chat box also, so I'm trying to find out the question. Okay, Shushmita Pratihar. Shushmita, you are asking about DGA. Am I sure about it? DGA. Sir, can you connect? She's asking, sir, what purpose we use DGA?
DVA.
Uh, I believe so.
Where did I mention that? I mentioned DVA in DGA.
DGA, right, sir?
Oh yeah, yeah, detection and categorization. Domain name generation algorithm. So it's being used in the RNN and the CNN, models as binary classifiers. Binary classifiers. So that is why I was just mentioning that these are things you see in deep learning, using deep learning in cybersecurity. So you come across that, So it's used by botnets, to generate domain names that are used as rendezvous point with their controllers. So that is what DGA means. So it's something about botnets where you use to generate domain name, especially when you're looking at cybersecurity, of combining with HTML and trying to people who are building website development, website protection. So you can use that in domain name generation algorithms. Yeah.
Okay. So, sir, Shaumodeep Kunar, he is working on improving of phishing sites. So, is there any relation how he can use AI? That's his question for improving
It's using it
phishing.
for.
Phishing, F-A-P-H-I-S-I-N-G, phishing, like for cybersecurity.
Yes. Of course,
So,
it's part of the thing. It's malware detection. So, okay, in phishing, yes, of course, in deep learning. Remember when you mentioned AI, you begin to look at ML, you begin to look at deep learning, so it's very important so that we don't mix it up. But deep learning methods for natural language programming is very important, especially when you're looking at the unidirectional or bidirectional RNN, and then the URL classification with fully connected models. So we have that there also. So AI can be used for spam and phishing detection. Very, very necessary.
okay. Sakshi Bhattacharya asks about neural machine translation. So I believe, sir, because it was a mixed crowd, people doing research on other domain, they are also looking into your talk and wanted to relate. So Sakshi is asking, sir, how can we use neural machine translations? How can we use your AI in neural machine translations?
Neural machine translation. That is why it's still very, very important using that. It's all in, especially using deep learning or bringing in NLP, natural language programming. That's where it's very important. Machine translation in terms of people who are in linguistics, can also use that, NLP. So you see them doing a lot of course in linguistic application by people's voice, by people's facial thing, combined with computer vision. You can dictate, you can actually use it for some security. So AI is very important in that way. So that means look at natural language program, if you want to look at to combine it with linguistic algorithms that you have in AI. So it's possible. When you download, the algorithm, I said the way I said download all the algorithms needed, you will see which one is to be used. So it makes it very easy, to know what you are using, and then being able to write a code that you can use to now analyze whatever problem you want to solve. Remember, you're solving a problem based on the features you have already written, and those features will help you analyze much more detail of what and get your solution out.
Okay, thank you, sir. So there are many questions in the questions box. So let me take last 2 to 3 questions maximum, sir, if you allow. Like Shushmita Pratihar is asking, sir, why is the random forest model a better choice than ANN and SVM in price forecasting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Go to the link I gave you. You'll see. You'll run it yourself and see. We have multiple algorithms. I've given you example. In the code, and I gave you the link to the code. So go to there. You'll see why, based on the results. So you see based on the results why. You see, AI is very good because it doesn't give you. You don't just come in and say, okay, you're going to get this. Run the code. When you run the code and the data, that's why we are working more on trying to work more on unsupervised learning, where the data can run it instead of the algorithm that we are currently using. But the algorithm that we're currently using based on the features, and we run it, and then testing all the algorithm. So the code has different algorithms, tested it, then you can now say this is why. You can't just come and say, okay, random forest will always be better. No, it has to be based on the features, based on the code, based on the training of the code. So consider all these characteristics before you can make your conclusion. And then your result will prove this conclusion.
Okay, sir. So Rishi Kumar Bhardwaj is asking an interesting question, sir. He is asking, is the world also looking towards building artificial consciousness apart from artificial intelligence? So
that is why we're trying to combine. That's why we're trying to combine the human and artificial intelligence in Industry 5.0. We are trying to make it that there will be both of them will intermingle. That means places where, like villages where we don't have the doctors, and we have people who are sick, we can use artificial intelligence, AI, IoT, and give them a robotic Industry 5.0 robotic analysis and take care of them from distance. So places where people cannot go, or places where you have natural disaster blocking them. You can use a lot of things to save lives. So that is the consciousness that the person may have been thinking about. So the consciousness of saving lives, that is what is leading into these ideas. And these ideas, I remember, have been, but government has not been interested. Money companies are, they have not pumping money. But now, when even the big men, those rich people are dying based on the sickness, everybody's like, I need to save life also. Imagine if we have been able to use AI definition and save things. Some people were looking for oxygen. The oxygen was not enough. So many things, so many problems. So we are now, people have now woken up to say, this, if you run away from this problem, it can be your turn. It can be your family's turn tomorrow. You see, so we are all waking up. As engineers, as students, you must tell yourself that whatever you are studying, you want to be practical. You want to be able to solve one of the world's problem. And that is why some of us are in this and giving you this lecture, because I want you to wake up tomorrow and be part of the solution, not part of the problem. Thank you.
That was really motivating, sir. So, Sakshi, I believe you got your answer of which language to be good. So for AI, sir has already answered. Python is a good choice for developing anything related to AI. And how is machine learning related? Prajanand, also you have got your answer, I believe. So I don't take your questions at the moment. Like Shubham is asking whether AI can develop something like human brain. Sir has talked a lot about machine learning. So I believe you also got your answer.
I give example also with what China is doing, the project China run with primary school students, using AI electrodes to pick out information to see which of the students are concentrating in school. I mentioned that also.
Yes. Actually, I'm going back towards the questions, sir. So maybe these questions are old ones when you did not mention. Maybe at that time these questions were posted. Okay. So I think I have got all the questions covered. Okay. Shomodip Ponar, I believe he is working a lot on the cybersecurity things. So he is asking a little about WSN. How is AI related to that? Okay.
That is wireless sensor networks.
Yes, right, sir. Wireless sensor network.
It's sensors. I mentioned something about sensors.
Yes.
Once you use Internet of Things, you can't say Internet of Things without mentioning sensors. And then those sensors are what sometimes you call nodes. I worked on security between node and node, between node and base station in WSN. So you can't miss them out. But like I said, the node to node. Imagine you have like 10 nodes located in your vicinity, and then two of the nodes are dead. If the two of the nodes are dead, AI can help to make sure that AI analysis and algorithm can take over the result of some of the node and predict what is supposed to be an outcome based on the results that he has seen from the node before the node disappeared. So that is what AI does. Like I said, you don't need all the information in AI. You just need some information. An AI algorithm can put them together and give you as if you have those information. So that is where AI is important in WSN.
Right, sir. So I believe I have taken all the questions. Shomodi, Projanand, and Rishabh. I think your questions, you have asked some very basic questions like data science, AI. So these things sir has already covered, and I believe with some basic materials from YouTube, you can get those covered. And sir has taken a lot of time today. I would like to skip your questions if you don't mind. And I would request Sahitya to come over again, and if you can kindly conclude this session with the vote of thanks to sir.
Yes,
Sahitya,
sir.
are you there?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for your wonderful speech. We all are happy to listen from you. Now we will present you with a memento. So, sir, if you can present your screen.
Surely, just a minute, please.
Yes, sir.
Just a minute, please. Yeah, I believe my screen is visible now.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your wonderful session. And as you can see, continuous around 500 attendees were present throughout your session. And we thoroughly enjoyed the session and we learned many things. And most importantly, you motivated all of us, motivated all the students, all the teachers to take AI as a profession, take AI design as a profession, designing of AI systems as a profession. You have motivated us to develop new things. And I'm sure that the students have benefited a lot. And I believe students, you have not missed the opportunity to take the contact of Dr. Celestine Iwendi. And as he has told you that you can connect with him if you want to work. So you can definitely do that. He has given you the permission. So if you are willing to work, please do connect with him. Human beings are all about networking. So thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks to all the attendees. Thank you, Sahitya. So I take the permission to close it today.
All right. All right.
Yes, sir. Sure.
Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, sir.